So thank you, Nora, for joining me on this call to show the other people how we had a successful story so far with our cooperation during, I think, maybe 2 years. So you can tell us in short what brought you to live in Istria and Croatia in general. Where did you come from? A little bit of background, what inspired you to come here?
Great. I'm actually Canadian. My husband and I are both originally Canadian. And we arrived to Istria by way of South America, where we'd been living for about 15 years. We were on a mountain biking trip throughout Europe looking for a country to have a summer home of some kind. We were in France, we were in Italy, and etc. And upon the recommendation of a lovely couple from Istria that were on their honeymoon, we came to Istria, to Poznan. We spent about 10 days here in Istria mountain biking all around. We absolutely fell in love with Istria, And we were sitting in a pizzeria in downtown, Old Town Poznan, and asked the owners, this really nice young couple who spoke English, if he could find us a realtor. And there was a realtor at the next table who didn't speak a word of English.
Yes.
So the pizzeria owner translated for us and set up a meeting for us the next day. That man toured us through 3 properties, and we ended up buying the last property, which was the renovated ruin that I'm sitting in now. And after we ended up moving here full time, maybe 2 years after we finished the renovation of this property. And we love it here in Istria. Love it, love it.
Yeah, after that, you actually purchased few other properties and that you now manage as a short-term rental.
Yes, exactly. So we have 3 others aside from this one, which we bought. We bought the first one at the beginning of the pandemic. That was very interesting. We were the very first real estate transaction in 2020 when the pandemic hit. It's very, very interesting. We had to be distanced and all of that. But anyway, and oddly enough, we had a fantastic season. The pandemic did not stop tourist flow into Croatia at all. It just changed the metrics. So the hotels were empty, but the individual villas were full. And those were the types of properties that we invested in. Interestingly enough, the pandemic was not in any way a deterrent to the rental business at all. Very interesting.
Super, super.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember how you actually came to me and what made you decide to work with me? How did we, catch each other?
I remember exactly how. So I'm a member of a bunch of online groups called expats. So expats in Rijeka, expats in Istria, expats in Croatia, etc. And I would just read through what people are posting because it's an extraordinarily helpful group to people like me who are living in a new country and who are even something as silly as, do you know which store sells this type of mustard, or silly day-to-day things, but also really important things. An accountant, an attorney, somebody, right? And your name came up in a bunch of different conversations. You replied to a bunch of different people's questions about investments and about rental properties, etc. And the reason I contacted you, I don't know if you remember this, was because I was looking to buy a tiny piece of land in a tiny little village called Kaligorici, which is on one of the mountain ridges here in Istria. And you agreed to help me. And it was literally one of the most fascinating things. And I wish it had worked out because it would have been great. But anyway, there was a small piece of land for sale, and through your help and the help of your brother, who's a registered surveyor, we found out what was going on with that small piece and 5 or 6 small pieces around it, and also the pieces north of it, etc., etc. And your brother explained to me the various different laws regarding the square footage of land upon which you're allowed to build, which shifts municipality to municipality. So while the real estate agents were saying to me that, yes, you can build on this piece of land that they were trying to sell me, that is in fact incorrect. I had to buy up several other pieces of land surrounding that piece in order to have enough square meterage for me to build a small house on. And you found all that information out, including having to go to the local village priest to look in the old books to find out which families lived here and what their surnames were, and if we could get the phone numbers. Some are in Argentina, some are in Italy. Anyway, it was a very interesting process. And
Definitely. For me too. Yeah, we actually issued a document which is called lokacijska informacija, which is like location information. This is for people who are going to see this interview. It's important document that tells you specifically what it's allowed to build on that land, specifically the parcel that you were looking at. So we asked for that, like how big it is it in the building area, what is allowed to build, what is not, all the data behind it. I don't know, we paid it maybe 30 euros, something like this. It was the fee to pay for it. So it's really low investment to get a really important information. And you can actually get it before you are the owner of the property. You can ask for that information without nobody, will prevent you of obtaining that information, actually.
The big lesson that I learned from that experience was that you have to research the piece of land that you're looking to buy before you actually put in an offer to buy it.
Yes.
And you and your brother were instrumental in helping me identify what could possibly happen with that small piece of land. And the result was I did not buy it.
Yes. We ended. Although my best effort was like really to find a way to actually for you to buy it. We were observing all the other parcels, how we can get to them. There are some owners that are probably dead for 200 years and they are still written in the books as the owner. So this is one problematic. Then there are neighbors. Then you don't have a path that connects you with, you need to have a public road that connects you with that land in order to build a house. These are the things that foreigners doesn't know. And I mean, I also didn't know that as a private person, but my brother taught me those kind of things. And that's why I'm helping the others to know that information before buying the land. So yeah, we ended up actually finding out the persons who live next doors, and I was contacting with them and they explained to me what is the problematic with other parcels. And it was a very interesting experience. And I'm glad you actually ended up not purchasing that property, because it would be further problematics on the way. And actually you wanted to have this project up and running, in a year. And actually it will take you maybe 2 years just to get to the point where you can actually build something on it. And even that, it's maybe too optimistic.
Exactly. Yeah.
To you.
But overall, a very fascinating experience.
Yes. And then we had some other challenges regarding the taxes. That was also one interesting thing. Why you needed help.
Let me tell you about the taxes. So I, as a Canadian person, I understand have to pay the taxes. Of course, in Canada, it's an honor system. You keep track of all your own stuff. You submit it to the government. We together calculate how much is owed, and then you pay the taxes. I have no problem with any of that. My issue was that I was unable to get accurate information. So I remember standing in the tax office in Poznan, in that same building that you and I go into all the time, in that office with all of my papers spread out on the woman's desk saying, okay, here's that paper, here's this one, paid. I had all the bank slips, and I said, is there anything else? Is there any other tax I need to pay? She said, no. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from the same building, not the same office, but the same building, with a woman shouting at me in Croatian that I haven't paid a tax, which was never explained to me, didn't know which one it was. And she was very angry that I didn't speak Croatian, and she refused to email me her tax request. I ended up having to get my corporate attorney to call her, and he refused to do the work because that's not it's not corporate work, it's private work. So that's just a second. And that's when I contacted you, because I could clearly see that I need help. I need somebody who speaks Croatian and who can all of the different taxes that need to be paid, and set me up so that I can keep track of it all, understand the process, hook me up with the right people that I have to contact on this date or before this date with this and this and this and this filled out. But the interesting thing was that the Croatian government was starting a new tax, which is the new tax for investment property owners. And you were not even aware of that new tax, remember?
Yes.
So we learned about that together.
Yes, I'm always learning. In each project I have with somebody, every project is different when I work with somebody, and I always learn a bunch of things.
Just to be fair, Croatia is not the only country that was implementing that type of
It's
tax.
true.
Canada was doing the same thing.
It's true.
Italy was doing the same thing. It's a way for the host country to get a little bit of tax for the vacation property that's in their country, right? We're all renting our investment properties online, which belongs to who? To nobody, right? It's the internet. For each host country, Croatia included, to get a little bit of tax on the houses that are located in their country. I get it. I understand it. It's just that there was not a lot of marketing. Like in Canada, if the government is going to implement a new tax, there's a year's worth, 12 months worth of marketing campaign to inform the citizens this is what's happening. Here's a number to call. Here's an office to go to if you have questions, etc. But this tax came out of nowhere, right? So I'm so grateful that you were there, because I at times felt like I'm going to a Croatian prison because I had taxes I had to pay, didn't know about that. And anyway, so it was it was fantastic. We stood in that tax office. You're speaking Croatian. We have all of our paperwork lined up, and we just knocked off the properties one by one and figured it out. So
that's true. And they were happy because you came with somebody that speaks Croatian, actually, and they were more cooperative than usual. And that's often the case, because even if they speak English, they are not obliged to speak it.
No.
And sometimes they do speak it, but they don't know the terminology. It's a little bit more complex. And so that's why
I am learning Croatian. There is not a chance I could hold a conversation about taxes in Croatian.
Yes,
not a chance. And I understand that they don't have the words in English for me. So that's why it was so great that you were there, because you would translate back and forth so we could understand each other and solve the issue.
True. And then I was a translator at one more project. I call it a project situation, when we had to sort out this conversation with your neighbors in Umag,
Novigrad,
where you have the rental property, actually. That was another situation.
It's actually in Novigrad, that house.
Novigrad.
It's okay. And which is a gorgeous place, by the way. Old Town Novigrad is just stunning.
Yeah,
really, really beautiful. So that whole neighborhood where we have our rental property is mostly tourist rental properties. There are a few families that live there, but they are surrounded on all sides with tourist properties. And it's located in such a way that the sound somehow is magnified. In our gardens, which are small, the sound somehow is magnified back there. And so there are noise complaints. And my neighbors, took it really 5 steps too far. The summer before that, they kept calling the police and whatever. And I just have nice families that are in the backyard with their kids in the pool, having a nice barbecue and a nice evening, And certainly that doesn't warrant a visit by the police. But anyway, I set up a meeting with them, and I sorted out all of the issues that I was having, and you came with me, thankfully, to translate this meeting so that we could understand each other. And I think in the end, we understood each other. They could see that I have not in any way trying to ruin their business.
It's true.
Yeah, I think we ended okay.
Because you already tried to have a conversation with them. It was not your first time that you've had this kind of challenge with them, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But this time you wanted to go even further, really take me as a translator, so you can really make sure that you are so transparent that they understand every single word you said, although they do understand a bit of English. But so just to make sure that everything is really simultaneously translated. That's how we were. We were all around the table all together. I was simultaneously, every single word I translated to them, and even explaining a little bit better if it's
exactly
to understand the context.
So that was resolved that day.
Yes.
Completely resolved. Last season was fantastic. So it was great.
And then you had another very interesting story, which was opening your own company here. Not LC, but solo proprietorship. And actually in that project, we were quite successful, very fast. Everything went quite smoothly, I think.
Yeah.
What were your main concerns about that? Did you also...
About the Obers?
Yes.
Just that I got all the taxes right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure. So that's actually one of the great things that you did for me is that not only did you say, okay, Nora, here are the taxes, but you helped me set up and understand. You emailed me the forms. Here's the forms for this, this tax. So I downloaded it onto my Dropbox. I have it there. I print it off whenever I need it once a month. At the end of the year, I print off the other form. You showed me how to fill out those forms because it's not easy.
Yeah.
The next year's date for the previous year, all of those things. And so now I have a template. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to think about it. I just automatically do it on, as long as things are done before a certain date, which I have in my calendar. So I'm not stressed about it anymore.
Yeah.
I was very stressed about it before. I'm no longer stressed about it. It's a process. I understand the process. If I have a problem, I can call you or I can call Antonio, the accountant, or even Natasha at the tax office. And she's wonderful. And so I can sort it out, Before, I felt like I was running into a brick wall, never getting any solutions. That was the problem. And that's why I was frustrated, So
that's why, I wanted to ask you, like, this personalized support that you actually had with me, which I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax advisor, but, I'm a person who understands the system, who knows which doors to knock on, how to ask people, which phone call to make, how to strategize those things. Do you think this personalized support, how do you feel about it? Was that valuable for you?
Yeah. Oh my God, so valuable. I remember I was trying to find an accountant. I was actually in the city of Umag. And I had an appointment with an accountant at like a company. And for some reason, they had just canceled on me like 5 minutes before the meeting or something. I don't remember. So I'm sitting by the sea in Old Town Umag. Literally, the sea is 1 meter away from me. And I called you or I texted you or something. And I said, can you recommend an accountant or something like that? And you called me back and you said, well, I can, but what do you need it for? And then I met you, I think, or I explained it to you on the phone. And I think I came to see you at the coffee shop in Poznan, and I told you, and you go, no, just, you don't need that. This is what you need. You made a few calls, and I think it was, I don't remember which iteration, which part of the story.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's often the case. People first tell me, oh, I need, I don't know, accountant. And then I ask them, okay, first, tell me the problem. Let me see if this is an accountant or a lawyer or, I don't know, tax advisor, or I can do some of these things. Because sometimes they will tell you, prepare this yourself, and then you don't know how to prepare that, and that's when usually I step in.
Exactly. So for me that day, as I was driving to Poznan after our first communication, I was so relieved that I didn't have to go to this other accounting company where I didn't know anybody, where I, of course, wasn't sure if we could communicate at all, right? Don't know who's speaking what language over there. And I knew you already, and I knew and you were very calm about it. You're like, no, I don't think that's what you need. Let's, show me the papers. And the solution was a simple one and a cost-effective one, as opposed to me having to pay 2,000 euros a year or whatever for an accountant. It was a far more cost-effective solution. So I need to also mention that. That's very important. When you own a business, you're always trying to find the most cost-effective solutions. So
it's true. And so this whole journey of all these problematics being solved, how did they change your perspective or approach to life and business in Istria in any way? I mean, is it, when you remember yourself, like before you met me, all the challenges, and how was your emotional state about it? And now, how do you feel the difference? Do you see the difference?
I completely feel the difference. Before, I was stressed out and frustrated, right? To the point that I would stand in the tax office and spread out all my papers and literally be asking them, please help me. And now I feel like you're actually a member of my team. And I know if things hit the fan, as we say, that I can just make one phone call or send one text, and I know that I get a reasoned and calm reply that's going to give me two options of how to move forward. So for me, I'm busy. I've got a bunch of different businesses. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very, very grateful for your help.
Super. Okay, thank you very much. I think this will be helpful to anybody watching this to see, there are many tiny things, but still they make a big difference for you to reach your goals and to go from point A to point B in a calm way without, feeling
Exactly.
stuck and standing in a place and just making things to move things forward.
But if there are any foreigners out there looking to invest in Istria, which I think you should,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I would say is get Irena to research the property
Yeah,
before you make an offer.
yeah.
Look into the property, look into the legals, whoever works for your team in your back end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if your brother does or not or whatever, but it's vitally important that you know the legal status of the property that you're looking at before you
It's
make an
true.
offer.
It's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
see you on the next project. Okay.
Perfect. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao. Bye.